me go over to the right screen and get the camera, which I totally forgot to do. Wow, I'm tiny. Very, very small. Cool. So, hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of world building. So, there was supposed to be a D&D game today, but it was just a comedy of errors. So, the first thing I realised is I don't have any of my streaming templates, so I would have needed to put those together. Then I started doing some of my prep work, only to realise that a bunch of my payment details had been scuppered and that I didn't have any of my massive quantity of map packs. So I found one that I was like, okay, we'll use this, tried to buy it, payment blocked, had to then sort that out, and then I was just out of time to do the prep work that I needed to do today. So I said to the players, do you mind if we cancel for the day and we'll come back with it next week? So that is what we are doing, but I still feel like I want to do something this evening. I had blocked it out to be available. So what we are instead going to be doing is world building. And if I remember correctly, it is currently 10:54 in the last session. In fact, let's just go ahead and load up the easier to scroll around map like this. So last time what we did is we fleshed out the humans a little bit more. The North humans, they're actually starting to really blob. We worked on the elves, the boat humans, the minotaurs. The minotaurs in particular had some of their borders adjusted, and the elves are on the verge of complete collapse. They are not looking too hot. And then we have got the ogres, who have actually managed to split free from the minotaurs, and that is the event that happens in 10:54, so they have literally just started their uprising. Hey, Von Ragnar. And then in the south, we got the South humans. I can't remember if I did much with them. Let's just go back to the previous map, just so I can kind of compare and contrast side by side. I have a feeling I'd not done anything with them, really. So they expanded a little bit out to here. And a little bit out here. So yes, I had done the South humans, but remember that they had several years of real scuppered growth where they actually retracted because of the really long famine, and then they've just started to grow again. So they had a bit of a scuppered time. And then we have the Dwarves. We haven't done anything with the Dwarves, nor have we done anything with the Southerners. Yeah, I want all of these guys to really start expanding some more. So I think that's what we'll do today, is the Southern Realms and the Dwarves. And I think the first thing with the Dwarves is to have them basically just come back. The various holds and the various kingdoms down here were kind of shattered apart. Were there any events which were affecting the Dwarves? I can't remember. 950 was the establishment of the official Dwarven Pantheon, although I feel like we could do something more interesting with that time period. What was 950? What's the historical analogy? The First Temple of Jerusalem. So it should definitely be something theological, I think. But I think we can do better than Dwarven Pantheon. Like the rise of a different god or something like that. I'd almost be tempted to make that the rise of the southern human theocracy, but that would have happened like 200 years earlier with this. I have to think on that. But yes, the dwarves. So if we just go to the South Dwarves, bump you up to 100 so I can grab your colour. Change you back to the pencil so we have the smooth edges. Change the brush to be the 40 size. And there we go. So I definitely think the dwarves would have started coming through here. And I think that they would have retaken the high ground at the very least. Because they're still very much traumatized after the coming of the Tarask. But I think that's going to be more about the borders. Let's have these dwarves come out here. We'll have you coming along the river again. Because they should be able to repopulate this pretty quickly. Because all the structures and things... Well, no, they would have been destroyed, wouldn't they? Let's have you kind of spreading out into the flatlands a bit more. How much time has passed? Like 100 years. Almost exactly. No, 150. Yeah, so I think in 150 years the Dwarves probably would have recolonized most of this stuff. Certainly bring you back in here, and in fact I think that that might be another small hold. Let's go and set that up. Population, choose the black brush. Just to confirm. I think they're 20? No. 10. 10 is the small holds, 20 is the big ones. Because it was kind of intended that you, I think, are a hold. No, that's border. Population. There we are. And I feel like there would have been a hold set up probably right here to guard the world wound. Again, small settlement. Now this does ask an interesting question. Where was the capital? The capital was here. Oops. Because I kind of feel, oh, it's there, that is going to be left clear. So if we grab the South Dwarves again, switch back over to their colour, which is this. Make the brush back out to 40. You know what, let's bring in this one. So I think they're going to leave that just conspicuously uncolonized. But otherwise, yeah, let's connect this up again. And let's have you back on the river over here. I don't think SD 8 would have changed much, and then 3... You actually would have bounced back real fast. Because your main population centers were untouched. Over here. Then I actually think that 2 and 4 would probably have started to really push out. Would they have really pushed out a lot though? I don't think so. And actually, let's go and put a dwarven settlement over here, because this seems to be a really good natural, too big, area. Would they do it in the swamps? Probably not. They would have sailed up, probably to here, and started a new colony right there. Yeah, I like that. Wrong option again. You make this just a small settlement. Here. Fertile area, lots of construction materials, easy area to spread out into. Okay, cool. The day the god of justice went nuts and burned down his own temple for being unjust. Maybe keeping up with the temple they started like a really big architectural project dedicated to their gods. Sufficiently dwarven build stuff. That's true. I'm also... Okay, so here's a discussion we should have. What would the effects on dwarven culture have been from the Tarask's visit? Because previously, my plan around the Tarask had been that it would have arrived and smashed up the dwarves because of their use of magic. But that's not the case here, because they haven't invented arcane magic yet. That was going to be like a later time frame. But I wanted the Tarask to wake up earlier so that we can actually have the dwarves starting to move down here. Maybe it's something against like monarchies? Because the thing that had happened is we had that really powerful centralized dwarven kingdom starting to rise. And then the Tarask could have been seen as the toppling of his regime. Because we're still talking about 1000 BC here, like, high-tech stuff isn't really a thing. Fracturing them into holds is definitely something, and I think that this is going to mean a much more fragmented dwarven realm, which is good. It also means that the dwarves would be pushed into the hills and the mountains for safety, in case it came back again, because the dwarven realms that survived in the western side were all the mountain holds. The eastern side were largely spared. The king was seen as a god. It could well be that the god basically the king proclaimed himself a god, and then the Tarask appeared. That's probably more believable. Kind of the whole, the pharaoh is a divine being. No, they're not going underground, Von Ragnar. I'm expressly saying subterranean stuff is out. It's way too much of a undertaking to actually build stuff underground. Like, why mine? Why dig when you can just build stuff on the surface? It's so much easier. But the holds which survived are the ones that are up in the mountains, which is why the dwarves still have their affinity with mountain holds. So they're like sturdily built strongholds up in the mountains. At least the western dwarves. And in fact, this might even be a bit of a... Ooh, you know what? This would cause a real rift between the eastern dwarves and the western dwarves. Which would be the shield dwarves versus the hill dwarves? The gold dwarves versus the hill dwarves? What are they called? I never really bothered to pay much attention to this. Hill dwarf and mountain dwarf. I mean, for us, we could even have plains dwarves. In fact, that's something I think I want to start to drill down on. So if we go to races, and then origins, open that as a new article. Let's go and hammer out something about the dwarves. Here we go. So we've got mountain dwarves, we've got desert dwarves, we've got plains dwarves, And eventually we'll have the northern dwarves. Which are the kind of, well, they're similar to mountain. Because they would be the ones over here. I mean, they're still technically desert dwarves. Can Plains Dwarves get into Artifice later? Not stealing this idea from Magic or anything. I mean, the Dwarves almost certainly will. They will have their big event which pushes them away from Magic. That's the Rise of the Lich Kings. The Dwarven Lich Lords. Because these dwarves would basically be... Well, would they though? No, not really. I was thinking they'd be like Incan dwarves, building terraces, but actually I don't think they would be, necessarily. Like, if anything, these would be the hill dwarves. What are the bonuses? So hill dwarves have the toughness, the mountain dwarves have the armor. Hill dwarves are wisdom, mountain dwarves are strength. So yeah, mountain dwarves I think would definitely be the so-called western ones. So the mountain dwarves, survivors of the Tarask attack, inheritors of the Great Kingdom. D&D mountain dwarves. Then let's put the Plains Dwarves here. So these are the unaffected... These are the eastmost dwarves, the coastal dwarves. And these are probably the one that are going to become the liches. So they'll probably be the D&D Hill Dwarves. Why would Hill Dwarves be tough, though? No, I don't think they would be the Hill Dwarves. I think that would actually be the Desert Dwarves. Yeah, tough, because they have to live in the desert. Desert's inhospitable. Ice Oasis and Northern Dwarves. Tough and hardy because of their environment. And then we have the Duragar. So the Duragar don't yet have any real history with the Dwarves, and I think they should, because that rivalry between the Duragar and the regular Dwarves is a thing. So I think at this point the Duragar should start to spread. Maybe even appearing down here. Oh, now that would be interesting if the Dwarves were the ones to fight against the Duragar. And they want to fight over the trade routes, obviously. But if the Desert Dwarves attacked this hold, Fire Giants are associated with metalwork. So we're going to have to make up the Plains Dwarves. The Plains Dwarves will be our own subclass, subrace, which is fine. I'm quite happy to do that. And then the ones in the books are the Mountain Dwarves and the Desert Dwarves. I don't think the Duragar are necessary. Well, no, they would be at least somewhat evil because of their evil aligned because of their background with the fire giants. I haven't really thought of anything particular. Oh no, I remember what the Duragar were. I remember exactly what the Duragar were. Dwarves in mental servitude to the beast of the lake. They would technically be lake dwarves. Because I think I am going to set them up down here. Did I spell servitude wrong? I did. Yeah, so the Duragar. Make you 100. I'm gonna have starting to spread. Because it's about time. Oops. Because I haven't done anything for several hundred years. But they've started to move down there, and I think I am actually going to place them over here. This is something which I was intending to give to the desert dwarves. Do I want to do this? No, the Duragar have to be based around this lake. It would actually make a heck of a lot more sense if they were over here. Ooh, it's going to be interesting if and when the Minotaurs discover them, which they probably will fairly soon. And this might actually be one of the first opportunities where the Duragar absolutely obliterate the Minotaurs. So we need to put a Duragar city out here. I know the Duragar still have relations with the fire giants. You were in the plains. I think we'll make you a hill hold. And I think we'll also set up another settlement down here. Make this one smaller. So these fire giants are probably friendlier than the northern ones. And I would say that the Duragar do... I don't know if they're hostile to the fire giants, if they trade with the fire giants. You know what? No, I have an idea exactly what's going to be happening. So these are the... I'm actually going to start naming these. So these are the A Duragar. These are the desert dwarves. These are the plains dwarves. These are the mountain dwarves. And then we also have the FG Duragar. And we're going to place them down here. I think they do need a different colour. I'm actually tempted to split out the colours of these two as well. I think I probably will. Yeah, exactly. The fire giants versus the thing in the lake. And the fire giants basically rescued a bunch of the Duragar, settling them over here. Which is interesting, because this means that these fire giants are not evil. Having some good aligned fire giants, or some at least neutral aligned ones. They're probably a bit like the Greybeards. Not the Greybeards, the Greybeards. They just sit up in their mountaintop temples, don't really get involved with the other races very often, but when they do, they make their impact known. Okay, so we've got the Southern Dwarves, which is these, which are now known as the Mountain Dwarves. Then we got the actual Mountain Dwarves, now known as the Desert Dwarves. And then we have a new one, which is going to be the Plains Dwarves. Which will need to have a colour similar to the Mountain Dwarves. But greener. Try this. And then the Plains Dwarves. I'm actually going to put some mountain dwarves over here. Refugees, basically. Now, how far do I want the Plains Dwarves to go? Probably start them spreading a little bit further down here. No. I'm not sure how eager to explore and expand they would be at this point. So let's put them down there. So at this point the Plains Dwarves are definitely on the up and up. Now I really hope that these colours are different enough when I get rid of the Mountain Dwarven bit. I think they should be. So that's the Plains Dwarves right there. Yeah, it's not really, is it? I guess you can just about see it. Yeah, over here it wouldn't, it's, well, if you zoom in you can see it. Okay, so what we need to do is set up another hold. I'll actually make this a bit of a bigger one. Stick you there. And I think at this point you've probably become a big town. Okay, good. Petition to Mordred to drop all pretense and just make every race in the game Dwarven. Just kidding, I know every race will get some love eventually. I mean, up until this point the Dwarves have been kind of dull, but the Tarask thing has really split them, and we can have plenty of civil wars between the Mountain and the Plains Dwarves. Hey Marshall, how are you doing? Alright, so we also need to rename these things. This is now Plain Dwarf 3, Plain Dwarf 4. In fact, these should be Plain Dwarf 1, 2, 3, 4. So and these should be Mountain Dwarf, Mountain Dwarf, Mountain Dwarf, Mountain Dwarf. Actually, I'm going to keep the numbers the same because they are the inheritors of the old ones. And then this should also be Mountain Dwarf. Now, what's the highest number? 7, 8, 9. And there's another one there. So we'll call this one Mountain Dwarf 10. And we'll put Mountain Dwarf 9 over here. Okay. Let's go and fill out some of these borders just to make them a bit clearer. So very definite border there. There. So at this point, Plain Dwarf 2 is probably the largest realm. as it's basically the capital of the Plains Dwarves. And the Mountain Dwarves at this point are still rebuilding, but eventually what's probably going to happen is the Mountain Dwarves will be centred down here, and then you have the Plains Dwarves up here. Doing good, Mordred. Thanks for asking. How are you? Other than being busy map painting, that is. Love to map painting. Yeah, good. Had a bit of a panicky day today trying to get the D&D stuff sorted, but eventually I had to make the difficult call. It's just like, I can't. There's too much going on. Let's just reschedule it for next week. Sorry, just checking messages. Alright. Oops. So I think that's probably a decent enough state of affairs to leave the Dwarves in right now. No, I want to play with the Desert Dwarves. Do I? No, I don't. Because the Desert Dwarves have their scheduled expansion, which is later. In 150 years from now. Okay. Oh! There's a hole down here. This is supposed to be Plains Dwarves. So it needs to be Plains Dwarves colour. Also, I noticed there were some ugly bits around some of these frontier areas. Good enough. Alright, so if that's a Plains Dwarf settlement, that should be PD5. Cool. Really enjoy your world so far. Wish I could play it someday. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm doing all this publicly, because I'm intended to be available. So on the server, so I broke Macho's heart. I felt so bad about cancelling it. It's just there was no feasible way of me doing it. Alright, good. So that's you done. Southern humans are finished. Let's go and work on these guys a bit. So I really don't know what I'm doing with the Lizardmen. The big one here is going to be the Gnolls. Just continue to expand. No, let's do the Lizardmen first. This jungle Lizardman? Yes. Oh, is it? Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. So the Lizardmen are probably the most comfortable just continuing to expand through the jungles at this point, because why would they not? In fact, this is looking like a very nice little Lizardmen hold. which the Leonin may or may not want. And I'll say that they continue to also expand along this river. But have not as yet built anything there. And then we have the Naga Lizardmen, who are also Lizardman coloured. That's another faction I need to split off. So we've got the neutral lizards. We can call them the jungle lizardmen. Do I want to? These are the neutral lizards. And then we've got the Naga Lizardmen, so we need to do another thing of that. We'll make their colour lighter. Oh yeah, look at that colour. Whoa! And these guys are definitely expanding. Especially along the river. That's an amazing colour. Alright, and then we have the Spirit Naga, which also need their own. Unless I've done their own already. I have. Yes. But where? They are technically UNT, but not yet. So these guys, I think I've already given a darker green to. At least I hope I have. But the Spirit Naga, are going to be pushing quite aggressively towards the... In fact, I think I'm just going to start up a secondary group out here where they've already settled. And that is, of course, going to come with population centres. That one right now is going to be quite small. And where would it be? It would probably be right there. That's too small. And I would say that these guys have also set something up in the mountains. Probably one there. One there. And then I'm going to move the name just so you can see that there is in fact a dot there. And the Spirit Naga are starting to shift. I think the neutral Lizardmen are probably the ones who are growing the fastest. because they weren't completely destroyed by the Civil War. So we're going to start plonking down a couple of smaller settlements, and I think we need to start subdividing the Lizardmen into different kingdoms. Yes, I think we will. So we need to go to borders. Now we go to the size 5. I want this going. Using the river as a border, and then just straight across. And then you, again, probably using the river as a border. No, the river's too big. Using the hills as the border. There we go. Those are the Lizardmen realms at this point. I don't think they would have split. I'm beginning to wonder if these would have, though. If they have, it would be straight through the middle. Awesome. Happy with that. Then I should also put down some names. What was I calling these guys? It was Neutral Lizardmen, Naga Lizardmen. So this is NL1. 2 would actually be you, because you're the big cities. 3, 4, and 5. Should actually be one over there, which is 6. Cool. Alright, Leonin. I never know what to do with the Leonin. Like, do they just expand? And just keep expanding? taking over the plains. I mean, they'll eventually have big fights against the Lamia. But, like, what's the Leonin Lizardmen relations like? Because I definitely think that they've reached the Lizardmen borders down here now. So there's a little bit of border tension going on. Don't know the difference between a lizardman and salamander. So salamanders are elements of fire, basically. In D&D lore, salamanders are really good at metalworking because they can literally just use their bodies as forges. Lizardmen are like lizardmen from Warhammer. Have you seen the old town in Stockholm yet? Really loved it when I was there. I also remember the metro being super fast and me almost falling over every time I took it. Yes, I've been to Gummerstan several times. Not as much as I probably should, because it's like the other side of town for me. But when I move to my Sodermalm place in July, I'll be a lot closer. I think generally the Leonin are just going to keep expanding. Like, they don't build cities because they have no need for them. There's so much space around. And they kind of like their hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And they really are just kings of the plains because there's nothing else to compete with them. They're kind of starting to reach the outer limits of the jungle down here. Probably don't go up here very much because there's no real reason to. So they're not yet in contact with the Spirit Naga. But they probably will be fairly soon. And then let's take a look at the Lamia. So the Lamia, I feel like, are probably going through a period of sustained growth at this point because they've now taken out the Haraka. So we're going to have Lamia and Haraka settlements starting to pop up all over the place, kind of like the humans do. And otherwise just expanding, especially in the nicer to work areas. Would they have started to jump across? Yeah, why not? Let's put a tiny little Lamia settlement out here. And the Lamia are kind of like the Leonin. They don't really have population centres. However, I'm going to spend this moment to just remind myself who the hell the Haraka are. Oh, it's these guys, right. Snake-like people, their bodies are lithe and muscly. For most Haraka, the metabolism is very fast. They eat just about anything and digest it very quickly. Evolved from common lizards and snakes to create the humanoid creatures they are today. When they first came into existence, they were very jittery. Many would die from simple mistakes. In fact, the Haraka became almost extinct until another race came along and put them into slavery. Guess who that race was? If you guess Lamia, congratulations, you're correct. Yeah, I think I will. In fact, along the river... we are going to add some settlements. Now that they have the centralized authority... I need to put these somewhere. Populations... the capital is probably there. And then I think I'm going to put some smaller cities. Starting to appear down there. Maybe one here as well. Sure. Okay, so the Lamia are definitely starting to expand a bit. And then they'll probably move in down here as well, so they'll take over kind of this peninsula and this. Maybe even this. But the Lamia, the Leonin Wars are going to be the big ones, and then eventually the Gnolls will make it across to here as well. Now the Gnolls are the ones I don't know how to progress. Because they could go north. Like they would go wherever the prey is. And this desert is a really tough blocker. So I don't think they would necessarily go across here, but they would probably spring across here. So let's just have them going up the coast. Before I do that though, we should move these into kingdom labels. Oops. And now I do believe that it is time to start sorting these kingdoms as well. So this is going to be Lizardmen. And then M. Who are M? Minotaurs. Come on. BH. Boat humans. So the bees are technically humans. Whether I subdivide further, I have not decided. Probably shouldn't need to. And then we also have Dwarves. What's SD2? Where is SD2? That's where. Okay. Then we have humans. So the human labels we may well eventually want to split down into northern human, southern human, boat human. Because there's going to be a lot of these. The main reason I'm doing this is just so I don't have to keep on scrolling like crazy. North humans. There we go, now this list is a heck of a lot more manageable. Cool. So, we've done the Lizardmen, we've done the Naga lizards, we've done the spirit lizards, we've done the Leonin, we've done the Lamia. We want to go to the gnolls. Wow, they're a lot browner than I realised. So the gnolls, I think, are probably... acting something a bit like a devouring swarm. So thank you, Stellaris, for that little piece of inspiration. Especially through woodlands, they love woodlands. Jump out to here. And this is why I don't really think they would go through the desert, because why would they? There's no food there. So eventually we'll have different prongs of the gnolls going in different directions. Really love the emotes, credits to whoever made them. It was one of Trips' artists. I'm not sure exactly who made them though. Something to ask Trips if and when she's around. Alright, Devouring Swarm Arrows can just stay there with the gnolls. Hopefully I remember that's where they are. Cool. And then 3 Kreen. Ah, the gnolls and the 3 Kreen are going to come into contact. Probably quite soon. Going to make it so they're actually using up the coast. I was a little bit too careful with my tracing with these guys, I think. Across a little bit of the desert, but they're not hugely interested in the desert just yet because there are so many other places that they could be going instead. How much did I expand them there? Quite a bit. So yeah, 3 Kreen and gnolls are about to go careening into each other. Infernals are not moving, Northern Infernals are not moving, Centaurs don't, Trolls don't, Goliaths. See, Goliaths are another of those factions I just don't really know what I'm doing with them. I guess they just keep expanding until the goblins come in. Kind of like the Leonin. Maybe staying out of this wood for some reason. You kind of push down there and into there, but that's it. Mostly, though, you're interested in coming down this way. Towards the Feywild. Probably also going up this way. This way we can have different groups of Goliaths up here. I quite like that. Then the Verbeegs, the Hill Giants, the Hill Fire Giants, the Frost Giants. I think that's all done already. Right, does anyone see any other factions that need to be tweaked? Otherwise we can jump another 100 years and go into the future! Or less far into the past, I should say. Turn the light on. It's actually a good question. What is the next jump? So 150 years, which is roughly what we've been doing, would be the Desert Dwarf expansion. I just don't feel like a huge amount would have changed in that intervening period. I think I actually want to jump to here, which is a good 300 years, so quite a lot will have changed. Or I could even go to 750, because not a huge amount's going to change in those 20... Well, a huge amount is going to change in those 25 years. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump the 300 years. I've done Lamia already. In fact, you know what? Let's go to 740. There's a big old gap between these guys. 740. Here we go. $300 years. One of our biggest jumps yet. So we've got first contact with the gnomes, we've got the ogres starting their southward journey, we've got the arrival of the goblins. Yeah, lots of stuff. Awesome. This is when the timeline starts getting interesting. So let's start with the Desert Dwarves rapid colonization. Oh, before I do that, I should make a save of the 1054. Overwrite that, that's fine. Come on. You can do it, laptop. I believe in you. There we go. .4 gigabyte file this one is. Oh no, that's only when it's saving. 1.7 in the memory, usually. And then all of these images are also taking up a bunch, so let's go ahead and close them. You and you, we'll keep this one. Yeah, they're just shaved off. Oh, a ton. Cool. Freeing up some memory. Alright, so Desert Dwarves. I think you are the same colour as them. Let's see if we can make you a little bit yellower. Is that going to blend in too much? Nah. You can do that. Okay, so these guys have just started their rapid expansion of the desert. So we're going to say that they have taken this. They've taken this. 300 years. You can do a lot in 300 years. They've come over here. fairly hefty realm over on that side. Now, how long have they actually been in rapid expansion mode? $160 years. So yeah, they can have achieved quite a bit. Let's also have them over here. I'm also going to just set up a small little area there, which is basically just working as a stop-off point to the realm that's over here. When does ND1 get founded? Ages ago. So yes, they are here. Oh, you know what? We forgot to put the Duragar here. So what we need is whoops, not that. And the FG Duragar are going to be down here. Let's put them in the northern section. And the reason this is going to matter is because the Desert Dwarves are also in town. Down there. And then I think that there should probably be some kind of settlement there. So the Desert Dwarves have taken quite a few little spots around here. Have they gone south at all? No, probably not. Why wouldn't they? The whole point of the Desert Dwarves is they're kind of everywhere. Let's get rid of that. Have you settle down there. That's going to be quite a wealthy Desert Dwarf town, which is going to be really interesting when the Ogres pass through. Because I was intending for the Ogres to settle this area. So the Desert Dwarves are going to be something of a problem. Alright, let's set up some small population centres for the Desert Dwarves. First things first, I think that you've actually gone and... Where would you put this city? Let's put a small city here. But what's probably actually going to happen is the Duragar will take it. And the Duragar have a big city down here, which I think is going to be right there. So I'm just going to move your name just a little bit so we can see what that name is. And then we'll go back to drawing city locations. So I think that there is probably a small desert dwarf over here. There is definitely on there. I'm just going to put one here, which does mean that the desert dwarves need to be a little bit bigger down here. Given that. So those are the only major population centers. These ones are like settled, but there's no cities there. Okay. So that's the Desert Dwarf expansion and the founding of ND1, which would technically be you. So I think that this is going to be Desert Dwarf. Oops. Desert Dwarf 1, Desert Dwarf 2, Desert Dwarf 4, Desert Dwarf 3, Desert Dwarf 5. So we're starting to see a couple of little Desert Dwarven realms popping up. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so that was Desert Dwarf 1. No, that was not Desert Dwarf 1, that was Desert Dwarf 2. It's the Northern Dwarves. Then we have the Ogre Migration. Oh, we also have the Desert Lizardmen split. Interesting. Let's do the Ogre Migration first. Now, how far have they got? So they probably spend maybe 50 years or so fighting, which gets them down to about 1000 BC. So that's 225 years. They will have gone quite a long way. So I feel like the ogres would have left behind a realm over here. A realm there. And yes, we will have them having arrived down here. And we'll even give them a small city down there, which is going to grow very quickly. Ogres. No, borders. No, populations is what I want. And this city... actually going to be... oops. Here in the mountains. Which does mean that the ogres need to have some more space down here. So they've taken that. Back to populations. Because I think it's going to be interesting to have a couple of these ogre areas kind of scattered around. The twin cities. Oh, I like that actually. And is there a settlement here? No, I think that's just occupied by them. And then this is probably completely gone. First of all, I need the Minotaur colour. So we need kingdom labels. Let's add ogre labels. O2, see what you can do. O3. So we have those three different ogre areas. Actually, I'm kind of wondering if the ogres would have left a place up here. Probably. Now this is kind of interesting because it's allowing us to put the ogres in just all kinds of places. Oh, they're in the wrong folder. Easily fixed. And I think they would probably even have a population centre up here. Is this the right colour? This feels too bright. It is too bright. Better. So I think I'm going to put a fairly significant ogre population there. That's where a large group of the ogres split off. Do I want it to be that big? No. No, I don't. Because I want the bulk of them to have migrated further south, which is why it's 04 and not 01. Otherwise that would be their new homeland. Cool. Right, what was the other big jump? Right, it was the Lizardmen Civil War. Where we start seeing the desert Lizardmen. I don't think it's right time for that yet. That was kind of a holdover from previous designs. So where was that? 851. What happened in 851? Olmec Pyramid. So it was another building project. So what I kind of want to do is open up the landmarks page, because there are two structures that we need to have built at some point. When was the first temple? 950. So we need to come up with some world wonder ideas. And this is something that I might just open to the world building page. Cleanus, hello. Actually, 813, which would be here. Which isn't so much a world wonder. It's more of a great project. A great philosopher type thing at that point. I just have a big list of like all of the major events in history. Not all of them. The ones that I thought were major enough to note down. There was actually a really good YouTube video which is basically just a timeline of world events. And it's like over an hour long. And I watched the first half, which just gets you to 0 AD. So what other big things have happened? At least in this period. 1985 was the Minoan Palaces. That would be a Minotaur. When was that? 1985 BC. So we got something with the Minotaurs, and then two other buildings which are The next one would be 595, which was the Temple of Zeus. So, where was Olmecs? That was 851. I need something else to happen in 851. Which was the Desert Lizardmen split, but I don't think that really has to happen here. And we've jumped to, what was it? 740. So it's 100 years ago in this. Could be the first conflict between the Lamia and the Haraka. It could be an actual building project somewhere. Who's the most likely to have done that? Oh yeah, I need to get rid of the Minotaur Darkness. And I also need to just expand the Minotaurs too, to be fair. And we have first contact with the gnomes. Great Lighthouse is also a thing fit for the boat humans, that's true. Like, I don't necessarily want to copy, like, lighthouse, pyramids. I just like a rough time frame of when certain big projects get done, because that gives us an idea of where in the world it would have been finished. So the boat humans building the lighthouse? Maybe. I actually almost feel like that would be a dwarven project for the Plains Dwarves. Or actually more likely to be the northern humans. Yeah, probably be the northern humans. Great Lighthouse probably right there, NH3. When was that? Oh, ages ago. Oh no, it's actually fairly recent. And it was still going in 1303 AD. Blimey. That's 1,600 years. Yeah, destroyed by an earthquake in 1303 and 1323. What were the other events? Before we get to the goblins, because I'm still trying to kind of do these in order. AC3 gets conquered, that's another one. Oh, and then the human rapid colonization. So let's not go too far down just yet. In fact, this is a good question. Where would they be? So 950. The Minotaurs already have the Minoan Palace, so I don't think it would be them. I just wanted to see when they all were. No, not the lighthouse. Literally all of them. There we go. So don't go away. Bloody History Channel. Where do I want to put these? Let's pull you out. Put you over there. Let's pull you out. Put you over there. Okay, so the pyramids. Which probably are an elven thing. What? That's not where my cursor was. And the Hanging Gardens, 600 BC. Statue of Zeus. Mid-5th century. I have that written down as 595. Then the Temple of Artemis. Call it 450 BC. These are all really recent. Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, again recent. This might well be one of the tombs for one of the Lich Kings. Colossus of Rhodes. 280 BC. Great Lighthouse, 270. So the only other one that would be potentially in our timeline would be Petra. I mean, that's right around, like, 1st century. I mean, Petra as a city was like 4th century BC. Really flourishing in the 1st century. So it'll be a later city, which is fine. Just means it's built around the 4th century. So that's what, 300s. Call it 350. Okay, so the only ones that are around at this point: Pyramids of Giza, the Minoan Palaces, the First Temple, Olmec Pyramids. Those four. Again, they don't need to be these structures, they just need to be something of grandiose enough status. But that's something which I'll probably throw up on the Digital Dragons channel to give people something to be chipping away at. Alright. So we're up to the Gnomish Emergence, 750, Iron Age. And also the Northern Human Rapid Colonization. Except that I've only got about 10 minutes of this stream left to go because I didn't want to go too late, plus also quiet time. Starts at 10. So I think I'm just going to call this one here. So sorry, Florian, you've arrived literally at the wrong time, because I'm going to stop this stream now. And then next time, when we do world building again, we will cover the emergence of the gnomes, or the first contact with the gnomes it would really be, and the Northern Human Rapid Colonization, which is one of the really, really big events, which I think is going to quite significantly change the map. This is particularly going to be for the Northern humans and possibly the boat humans. The South humans, I think, will mostly just be colonizing this area, but we're going to start seeing some mixing of different races, and also the South humans will come down here near the Spirit Naga, and that's going to lead to the Ornti. But yeah, good progress. I especially like the division of the Dwarves, the Mountain Dwarves versus the Plains Dwarves, because there's definitely going to be a rivalry. Like, the Mountain Dwarves are always going to be very jealous of the Plains Dwarves. It's like, why weren't you affected by the Tarask? And the other event is the fall of... Has that already happened? That may have already happened. EC3. To the Minotaurs. So the elves are left with just EC1. Wait, when does that happen? After the human expansion, just. And then 663. So the last elven city kind of pulls a Byzantium and lasts for almost 100 years longer on its own. That's one hell of a Trojan War. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, be sure to hit that follow button to get notifications next time Digital Dragons are live. If you've really enjoyed this, then do consider subscribing. We are an affiliate, so it really does help the channel out. Or you can, of course, check out previous world buildings over on my channel, Mordred Viking. That's at youtube.com/Mordred Viking. Or come join the rest of the Digital Dragons on Discord. We do have a channel specifically for that. What's today? Sunday. Next stream, not sure. Almost certainly we'll be continuing to stream on the weekends. Saturday is like the main streaming day at the moment. Whether I do any streams during the week is really dependent on how tired I get from Paradox stuff during the week. The most likely would be Monday and Wednesday. Tuesday is a no. Thursday is generally a no. Possibly Friday. We shall see. Anyway, like I said, if you enjoyed this, hit that follow button to get notifications when we're live again in the future. Dungeons & Dragons proper Icewind Dale is returning next Sunday at this time slot. So 7 PM Central European time until around about now is when Icewind would be happening. It didn't this week because I just had too much stuff on my plate and too many things went wrong in the run up to it. But hopefully all of that will be ironed out for the start of the next session. So D&D back next Sunday. Looking forward to that. I was really looking forward to it today. I was kind of gutted that it just didn't work out. But we'll be back. Anyway, that's all for me for now. Thanks everyone for watching. I will see you all next time.